Hey guys, happy Homebrew Wednesday. This one is for November 27th. And I just want to say that if you live in the States and you're watching this, have a very happy Thanksgiving, guys. Now, a couple of updates that I have for you this week. My Sierra Nevada Pale Ale clone, when I taste tested it last week, I stated that it had a weird caramel toffee candy aftertaste, and that is almost completely vanished. The beer seems to be aging quite well. And I want to give a quick hey buddy to Brett from Newfound Brewing. He gave me a tip on the serving line for my keg system. I know last week again I stated that I only had the picnic tap, and it came with like a 3 or 4 foot line, and I had to turn my serving pressure down to about 5 psi, or I'd end up with a cup of foam. Well, his suggestion was that I lengthen that line. So last Friday I went out, I bought 10 feet of serving line, and installed that in my keg, and it seems to be working great. My serving pressure now is 12 psi. And with that kind of pressure, it ensures that the last glass in the keg is as carbonated as the first glass, or mostly carbonated anyway. Now, what I have here is a bottle of that brown sugar and maple syrup ale, and as you guys can see, it is definitely carbonated. I really can't wait much longer to try this, so we're just going to open it up and see how it tastes. I'm going to get close so we can listen for a hiss. Ah, yeah, definitely a hiss. Bubbles rising but no smoke. Picked up a new glass this week, guys, so we'll see how it works. And so here we go. It was clear until I just poured a little sediment from the bottle into the glass, and I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see it or not. It is, I don't know, can you see that? It is really nicely carbonated. Not a whole lot of head retention, but I didn't add any dextrin grains or maltodextrin in with this. So let's see how I did. Well, I can smell a little bit of the brown sugar, but no maple syrup. I can't smell any hops. I can't smell any malt. But it does seem to be a pretty decent color. Alright, so cheers, guys. Okay, first of all, it's really carbonated. Since this was a gallon batch, I batch primed it with 1 ounce of dextrose, and I don't know if that was too much, but I figured a 5-gallon batch, they usually use 5 ounces, so the math was easy. 5 ounces, 5 gallons, 1 ounce for 1 gallon, that's what I did. Just a slight taste of hops, nothing outrageous, or not like a pale ale or anything. Right away I can taste the malts. Not a whole lot, and that doesn't really surprise me since this was an extract. I used spray malt, or DME. The slightest, like really slightest hint of maple syrup on the back end. honestly, it's not really the way I was hoping it turned out, but I mean, the best comparison I can put this to is a commercial adjunct beer. Um, Not a whole lot of malt flavor, not a whole lot of hops, well, almost no hops, and that weird adjunct, I'm going to call it, aftertaste to it. So, I mean, I guess for all intents and purposes, I just made a really nicely colored malt liquor, and tell you the truth, I could do that with cheaper ingredients than 8.5 fluid ounces of maple syrup. But all in all, it's not bad. I'd if I could find a way to get the maple syrup flavor to stick around longer, I'd make this again. But at $12 for a bottle of maple syrup, unless the flavor can stick around, I'm probably not going to waste my time with it. But I'd have to give this, on a scale from 1 to 10, maybe a 4. But it's alright, guys. That's, as home brewers, that's why we do experimental batches. Okay, now, let's see. Under the table brewing. Okay, I would like to, well, first apologize to you guys. I commented on their last week's Homebrew Wednesday video, and I kind of gave them wrong information. Okay, so I apologize for that, guys. It's one of those things where, like, you should really know what you're talking about before you say something. But I did research the subject, and I'm going to clear things up now. So, excuse me, guys. Let's jump to this short classroom-style clip. Be right back. Alright, class. In today's session, we are going to learn the science behind an all-grain mash. Now, we all know, in order to make an all-grain, that we steep grains in water that's a certain temperature for a certain amount of time, and starch is converted to sugar. And we all know why, because we want to take the resulting water with all the sugar in it and ferment it out in the beer. But not all of us may know the how. And I mean, I certainly did it. And there's a couple of chemical conversions that take place, and that conversion is called sarification. And before we get started, we have to know a little something about sugars. If you have a single sugar molecule, right, and just this little guy up here in the corner, that is called a monosaccharide. If we had a sugar that had 2 molecules, that is a disaccharide, or more commonly known as glucose. If our sugar had 3 molecules, it's known as a trisaccharide or a maltotriose. And a polysaccharide is a chain of 2 or more bonded sugar molecules. So this big octopus looking thing in the middle would probably be a polysaccharide, but this is a poor rendition of a starch molecule. Now, if you were to take the grains that you make your beer out of, and you were to steep them in cold water, absolutely nothing would happen. The water has to be specific temperatures for starch conversion or sassification to take effect. Now, there's, among other things, 2 main enzymes that play a part in this conversion. The first one is beta amylase, and that is most active between the temperatures of 130 and 155 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, now what beta amylase does is it takes this starch molecule and it mates with 3 sugars in the chain, like these 3 here, and then it cleaves off the bottom 2, so they're free to float around in your water. And then it'll mate with these 3 and cleave off these 2. So we have another disaccharide or glucose molecule floating around in the water. Now, the laws of nature state that when it gets to this point in the starch in the chain, it'll mate with these 3, but it can no longer cleave off these bottom 2 because it's right here, because it's attached to the middle. Okay? Now, what that happens is if you were to mash your beer at a low temperature, say 146 degrees, well, you would have to mash it for an extended period of time. Instead of the usual 60 minutes, it would take 90 minutes or even 2 hours. But what you would end up with is a wort that is predominantly fermentable. And then you will have outrageous ABV, but you won't have a whole lot of body, mouthfeel, or head retention to speak of. Now the second enzyme that's responsible for starch conversion or saccharification is called alpha amylase, and that is most active between 155 degrees and 168 degrees Fahrenheit. Alright, now what alpha amylase is it's kind of like the lone wolf ninja. It will come along and indiscriminately cleave these chains of sugars at any spot it seems fit. It might cut off just this one to leave it float around. It might come in and cut off these 3 and leave them floating around. Okay, now the reason the standard mash temperatures are 150 to 153 degrees is because that temperature range, both alpha and beta amylase enzymes are really active. And they'll work to tag team this. Okay, the alpha amylase just came in and cleaved this off. Now there's these 3 floating around, and the beta amylase will come in behind it. It'll pair with these 3, and then it'll cleave off these bottom 2. So you have another disaccharide or glucose molecule floating around in your wort. Okay, now the reason that you do this is because you want mostly fermentable sugars, but you want some unfermentable sugars left over for body and head retention. And when you get into certain styles of beers such as stouts and some porters, you want that real thick creamy mouthfeel to it. So after you steep your grains for 60 minutes and the alpha and the beta amylase tag team this thing to mostly just break it up like so, and you've got all these disaccharide sugar molecules floating around now, okay, with some of the what's left over from the starch molecules, which are unfermentable. You can stop the process and basically stop the conversion or saccharification process by doing a technique called the mash out. That's where you raise your mash temperature to 170 degrees and you hold it for about 15 minutes, and what that does is that gets rid or denatures your beta amylase enzymes. You pretty much halt the conversion, and that's a technique that usually isn't necessary. Of course, unless you're doing a stout or barley wine, something that you just want mountains of thickness and mouthfeel and head retention or whatnot. So that, guys, in the nutshell, is a very poor example of the how starches get converted to sugars during your mash. Okay? I hope you guys were taking notes, because when class starts up tomorrow, there'll be a short test. Alright, guys, I hope that little clip was helpful for you guys. It's always nice to know the science behind things that you do. Well, it is carbonated. Okay, let's see, what else do I have going on? I haven't started my mead yet. I'll probably wait until after the Thanksgiving holidays for that. And I've got family coming over. Everybody wants a piece of that 20-pound chicken or turkey, especially me. And oh hell with the turkey. I'm just here for the pumpkin pie, guys. Last week I brewed another kit beer. This was a English bitter I decided to do kind of like a hot tea with. Actually, what I did was I did my usual 5 and 7 method, but the pound of dry malt extract I usually use, I dissolved it in a little less than a gallon of water, brought that to the boil, threw in an ounce of Fuggle hops, let that boil. I think it was for 8 minutes. I was going to go for 10, but it started to lose the hop aroma, and I was really trying to hold that, so I did that 3 days ago. So that's it's fermenting away nicely down in my basement. The Australian Pale Ale that I did, the kit that I did in my like how to do a kit video recently. Oh, that one is finished. I kegged it up yesterday, and that's currently sitting under 15 psi. I didn't clear it or anything. I just took it from the primary fermenter straight into the keg. Cooled it down in the fridge overnight. Put the CO2 on it this morning, so we'll let that sit. I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 days before we give that a try. Oh, I'd like to give a shout out to a guy named Dave. He goes by Dave. He's over there in England, a little place called Cheshire. And funny thing about these guys is local laws don't allow them to have any dogs, but they do have some of the most highly trained attack hamsters in the world. Rrr. 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 Oh, alright. So anyway, guys, that's Dave from Cheshire Homebrews. If by some stroke of fate you're not already subscribed to him, please check out his channel. He's a really great guy. He tries to watch all the videos he can. He always comments on videos. He always answers any comments you leave on his videos. And he's really doing some pretty good stuff with home brewing. Kit enhancements and flavored ciders. He's been doing recent experiments with those fancy brewing cap things that are becoming really popular now. He's always supportive and energetic. So yeah, he's just an all-around great guy. Check out his channel. By all means, subscribe. Okay. So it's going to be kind of a short one this week, guys, because I mean, other than the stick figures on the bulletin board over here, I don't really have a whole lot going on. In a week or 2 weeks, I'll have a bunch of beer I'll be able to taste test for you guys. But anyway, I hope your week this far has been good. I hope the rest of your week and your holidays are even better. Until the next video, take care of yourselves. Cheers, 17.